Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon. Today we are going to go over our campaign launch and our campaign launch for school breakfast. And what we're going to be talking about today, we'll have a number of presenters today actually to talk about your school breakfast campaign. I want to shout out absolutely to our new NOAPs as well. Everyone, I'm glad you're here. New NOAPs, I'll be glad to see you in a few weeks when we get together in person. My name is Diana Lizette. I'm the Training and Instructional Design Coordinator here at Hunger Solutions, New York. And for those of you who have been on these webinars before for training or to do some training around a school breakfast campaign or another campaign, you'll see we're doing things a little bit differently this time. From here on out, I'm going to be handling technical aspects of running our training webinars, checking for questions, for example. Also, you should know that we are also recording this webinar for anybody who can't be here. Maybe somebody's on vacation, or if you want to go back and check in on this webinar and have another review, you'll be able to do that. You might have also noticed that everybody has been muted when they enter for clarity. So everybody has the best sound, and we have no background distractions. So one thing I want you to notice is up on the screen is if you're using the phone in particular, make sure you're entering your access code and also your audio pin that's given to you. Now, your phone number and access code were on your webinar invitation, and you get your pin when you sign in on the phone to the webinar. If you're using computer, that's great. There's a great chance to use your headphones and connect with us over the computer as well. Something I want you to know, too, is we're going to be holding the questions until the end of the webinar, but we encourage you to put those questions in your question box throughout the training so that you can then go ahead and we can review questions at the end. We'll take as many questions as time allows. If you're new to GoToWebinar, if you follow your screen over to the right and go up, you'll see a little white arrow in an orange box. Click on that. Slide it out, and at the very bottom you'll see the question box, and that's where you can enter your questions. And again, we'll take as many questions as time allows after the end of the presentation. We have a few guest speakers today, as I said, and now I'm going to hand it off to our first guest speaker, Linda Fox.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for joining this webinar to launch the first of 6 outreach campaigns through the NOAP Field Operations team. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to introduce you to Hunger Solutions New York, especially since we have so many new NOAP coordinators with us on the webinar today. Hunger Solutions New York is a private, nonprofit, statewide organization dedicated to alleviating hunger. We do this by several different approaches to maximize participation in SNAP, the School Breakfast Program, and the Community Eligibility Program, known as CEP, the Summer Food Service Program, Child and Adult Care Food Program, and WIC. If you'd like to learn more about any of these specific federally funded nutrition assistance programs, we invite you to visit our website for more information at hungersolutionsny.org. And how do we work to maximize participation in these various federally funded nutrition assistance programs? The largest of those and the most comprehensive in terms of geographic coverage and services provided is the Nutrition Outreach and Education Program, also known as NOAP. NOAP is nationally recognized for its SNAP outreach and education. It provides statewide information and education. It also provides community-based education and client assistance. That client assistance and community-based education is provided by you, NOAP coordinators, and your organizations. So the last 2 bullets on this page really represent what the NOAP subcontractors and NOAP coordinators do in the community. So today we're going to focus on your community-based education and outreach efforts. Within that realm, the work of the NOEP subcontractors and coordinators is to inform people about hunger in New York State, about the eligibility and availability of SNAP, to let people know that NOEP services exist in their community and NOEP coordinators are available to help with pre-screening and SNAP applications, but also to educate about other nutrition assistance programs like school meals and summer meals. From a community education perspective, NOEP coordinators also conduct targeted outreach efforts and outreach campaigns for specific populations, which leads us to today. So the first of these outreach campaigns for specific populations is our school breakfast outreach campaign. And in today's webinar, what you will learn about are the NOEP coordinators' roles and responsibilities for outreach campaigns, a little bit of background on the school breakfast program, a walkthrough of the toolkit, recommendations about how you can implement this outreach campaign in your community, and then some specific dates and processes related to the outreach campaign. And so now with that, I will turn the webinar over to Patricia Dubell.
Thank you, Linda. My name is Patty Dubell. I'm the Assistant Director of Field Operations, but I'm also the Contract Manager for New York City. Welcome to your first statewide campaign for the year 2018-2019 contract year. Success starts with school breakfast. I'm going to give you an overview of the campaign requirements and also roles and responsibilities for outreach. If you don't take anything from this webinar, please take with you. All outreach materials must be approved by your contract manager prior to placement. Your contract manager will ensure that you have all required criteria on your outreach page. It is required that you participate in all 6 campaigns per your NOEP contract. There will also be a campaign launch to introduce each campaign via webinar. It is also required that you complete at least 2 activities per campaign. Your first activity must be placed by the first day of the campaign. Your second activity must be placed by the end of the second week of the campaign. All outreach for this campaign must include a slogan of this campaign: success starts with school breakfast. Why do we do campaigns? The whole idea behind campaigns is to have a unified message about SNAP across New York State. Low-income New Yorkers will see the same message about the school breakfast campaign from all 68 NOEP coordinators. Now that's what we call strength in numbers. Because each campaign runs for 6 weeks, you have plenty of time to get the message across New York State. As you can see by the map, where you see the shaded green areas, that's where the NOEP coordinators are located. And as you can see, NOEP coordinators are the key to distributing the campaign message throughout the state. Just a reminder, as I stated earlier, each campaign runs for 6 weeks. This campaign runs from August 27th to September 28th. Your placement dates for Success Starts with School Breakfast are as follows. Your first activity is due August 27th. Your second activity is due September 7th. Now I'll be handing the webinar over to Jessica, and she will be giving you an overview of the school breakfast program.
Thanks so much, Patty. I'm Jessica Pino-Goodspeed. I'm Child Nutrition Program Specialist for Hunger Solutions New York. I focus on in-school meal programs, so that includes school breakfast. I'm happy to share with you a little bit about the school breakfast program today. So overall, school breakfast program, like we mentioned before, it's a federally funded nutrition assistance program. It's meant to safeguard children from hunger so that no child has to start their school day hungry. Schools must offer meals at a free and reduced price rate. So this is particularly important for the families that you guys are in contact with, families who are limited budgets and looking to stretch that dollar, and having an extra meal at school 5 days a week can really go far with families with kids in school. You can be rest assured that all school meals are healthy meals. All meals under the Federal Nutrition School Breakfast Program must meet federal nutrition guidelines. So making sure that kids are getting a balanced meal with all those nutrients that they need to grow and learn. Schools receive reimbursements for every meal served. So you can be rest assured too that this is not coming from the pockets of your community, but rather designated federal and state funds meant to safeguard children from hunger. So the key takeaway with this, and you'll learn a lot more when you're with Diana and she's talking, especially you new NOAA coordinators, and talking through like the nuances of this program. But the key takeaway for today is that this campaign is a great opportunity for you to connect in your community and understand what is offered at your school breakfast program. So the menus vary. School breakfast looks different in every community. So this is a great opportunity to find out what's happening in your school. So around school breakfast, we know breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We hear that through our lives, but there's research around school breakfast and the impact that it has on children. Overall, the school breakfast program decreases the risk of hunger. So children who eat breakfast at school are safeguarded from the different issues that arise with hunger. And so in addition to protecting kids from hunger, when kids are eating school breakfast, they're actually doing better in school. So really, couple things here. So when kids are eating closer to test time, they can understand those hard math lessons. They can get better comprehension when it comes to those reading and writing curriculum, but also hangry. We've all heard that word, right? So making sure that kids are able to sit in their seats and not feel restless and focus on those growling bellies and can rather focus at the task at hand. So really bolsters student success in that way. Also improves student health. So research shows that kids who eat school breakfast get more key nutrients of concern than children who eat breakfast at home. So actually eating breakfast at school can be healthier than what kids are getting at home. So really protecting kids from negative health outcomes associated with food insecurity, but also even protecting against obesity. A little overview, why do we focus on school breakfast? Why a school breakfast campaign and not a school lunch campaign? So we focus on school breakfast at Hunger Solutions in New York because the program is so greatly underutilized. We have over 1.6 million kids across the state who qualify for free and reduced price breakfast, and less than a third of those children are eating those meals. So we have over 1 million children who could be benefiting from school breakfast and are not. So we also look at lunch participation in comparison to breakfast. I just mentioned lunch is more robustly used. So we use that lunch as a measure of how many kids could and should be eating school breakfast. Only 46% of kids who eat lunch also eat breakfast. So that really tells us the kids who really need this meal the most are missing out. New York State is one of the poorest performing states in reaching our low-income kids with school breakfast. So again, another reason of why we value your work on this campaign so much, and we really appreciate you joining our efforts to increase participation in school breakfast. So what are our key strategies? How do we approach the problem of low participation in school breakfast? We work with you on this campaign to raise awareness about the availability of school breakfast. A lot of families don't realize that their schools offer 2 meals rather than just lunch. So really getting that word out in your community, and you know, as trusted coordinators, as trusted community members, it's great to have that message come from you that this meal is happening and that it's healthy and a good experience for children. So again, we just want to make sure that we're underscoring all these great things, that all this great research around breakfast. And as a part of Hunger Solutions New York, who works on school breakfast, I thank you so much for all your efforts and really helping children get fed and making sure that none of them have to go through their school day hungry. I'm going to turn this over to Leanne, who will give you more information here.
And everybody, while we're switching presenters, feel free to put any of those questions you have in your question box. Again, don't listen to the end, so as we switch presenters, that's a good time to jot down your questions.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leanne Mandrillo. I am the Communications Specialist at Hunger Solutions New York. So glad to be on the phone with you today. So one of the things that I'm going to do is speak to you about accessing the materials for the school breakfast campaign. And so take this moment to continue putting in your questions. They're very valuable to us, and we will get set up to show you how to access the campaign materials. Okay, so what should be showing up right now on your screen is the main page of their Hunger Solutions New York website. If you're not seeing 1 in 8 New Yorkers faces hunger, you should be, and you should take a moment to hit in the upper left-hand corner our logo, the Hunger Solutions New York. That will take you to the main page. Once you're there, you need to, with your mouse, scroll all the way down to the end of the page. You're going to look for a big purple banner at the bottom. This is where we need to be to sign in. You will see highlighted in white, sign in. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to sign in. I am going to be signing in to, this is our NOAP network, our campaign toolkits. Any memos, our manuals, this network is just for you. And so Diane's going to take a moment and she's going to sign herself in. And you should have received your own personal login information as well as directions on how to log in. If you do not have that information, please contact Paige Cerulli. She will be able to get you your login information as well as provide those instructions to you so you can log in as well. And as we see, Diana has just logged in. Thank you, Diana.
You're good.
And on this main page, you should see a bunch of bars of color. If you see that, then you're in the right place. What we're going to need to do is go up to the left-hand corner, and you're going to see something that says Hunger Solutions New York and a picture of a house. We want to click on that house. This is going to take us back to the main page that we started in when we were going to log in. The difference is you are now logged in to your NOAP network. And when you take your mouse and you put it over the NOAP network, you will see a green box appear. That is your menu. All of your toolkit materials that you need for this campaign and other campaigns are located under NOAP Outreach and Resources. So we're going to go in there. When you click on that, a menu is going to come up. The first thing on your menu is going to be campaign number 1, 2018-19, Success Starts with School Breakfast. The materials you need for your 2 activities, as well as to get some supplement background and additional information about school breakfast, is located in this first option. So we're going to click on that. And there we have it. Success Starts with School Breakfast, the formal name of this first campaign. Everything below it is your toolkit. In your toolkit, there will be a few things that I had just briefly talked about. We're going to talk about those in a little bit more detail now. The first thing you'll see is your 2018-2019 School Breakfast Companion. I'm not going to open that up today. That's something that you should open up when we're done, because everything that we're talking about with you today, the things that Jessica had just shared with you about the importance of school breakfast, the information Patty shared about campaign due dates, as well as other information Patty is going to share, they are all in this campaign companion. And so this is more of like the book on how to run your campaign. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the flyers as well as an op-ed. Those are things you can use for your 2 activities. I'm also going to briefly show you where you can get some additional photos that you can use if you want to change out any photo on the campaign flyer, as well as where you can find supplemental information. So first, let's just start with a campaign flyer. I'm going to pick one. I've picked flyer, Girl with Pigtails. I'm going to click on it. This is going to pull up a Word document. You're going to need to look at the bottom left screen of your computer to find your Word document that has downloaded. Let's click on that. I'm just going to give it a second to load. Okay, here we go. So this is an example of one of your campaign flyers. You'll see our campaign slogan, Success Starts with School Breakfast. You'll see some information about the importance of school breakfast. And then you'll see that a direct to for someone to contact you, the NOAP coordinator, for more information. This campaign piece, like the other flyers, has two opportunities for you to make it personal to you. One, you must put the agency name, the county you're serving, and your phone number. The second, you'll see agency logo, and I've clicked that box. You can put your agency that you're with logo there. If you want to, copy and paste it in, or insert it in as a picture file. If you don't want to, you have to remove the box. So say you are opting not to put your agency logo on, no problem. Just click the box, hit delete, and it goes away. You have to be sure you do that if you opt to not put your logo on. If you want to put your logo on, that's the place where it would go. So this is an example of one campaign flyer. I'm going to close this out and go through one more. So another type of campaign flyer you can use, and Patty's going to get into additional information about this, is this one that's called Snap Blended. And I'm going to pull this up. So again, it's going to download into a Word document. It's going to be in the bottom left-hand corner of your computer screen. You're going to click on it for it to load up. Again, you will see Success Starts Your School Breakfast. Again, you will see some information about school breakfast and what it is. But this one also talks about the SNAP program. This is why we call it a blended flyer. That's one of the main differences with this. You're still going to need to put your agency name and the county you serve, as well as the phone number, and you have the option to put your agency logo. Remember, if you're not going to put the agency logo, remove that box. Patty's going to talk a little bit in more detail about this particular campaign flyer. There's two of them. There's one with a boy and there's one with a girl. So either one of those will work if you choose to use the blended flyer. I just wanted to take one more moment to talk about another type of campaign activity that you can use that is in here. And this is called the sample op-ed. For our no-ups that have been with us in the past, this used to be called a letter to the editor. And while they are similar, a letter to the editor is something that we would submit in response to an article that was printed in the newspaper. It is responding to something that the newspaper already printed. Whereas an op-ed, which is the piece we're going to go through in a minute, is really an opportunity for you just to express an opinion, to be able to share information with the newspaper that you think is important and relevant. It's not in response to something. And Patty's going to go through that as well in a little bit more detail when she joins us again after my talk. All right, so sample op-ed, it loads exactly the same way as the flyers do. You'll find it in a Word document. It will be on the bottom left hand of your screen. We're just going to pull it up. And like the flyer, you're going to need to do some things to make this unique to you. You're going to need to enter your information on the bottom. Same, your agency, phone number. This time you put your name. You're going to put the county or the area that you're serving. And then up at the top, you're going to need to make that information specific to the paper that you are submitting this to. So you would put the name of the editor, the name of the newspaper, and the newspaper address. This, too, is another way for you to complete one of your campaign activities and is found in your toolkit. So in rounding out what I'm going to be sharing with you today about the campaign toolkit, I wanted to just show you a few other things that are in there for you. So I'm going into this thing under the sample op-ed that says slogans and photos. We're going to click that. Again, another Word document, so it will be in our bottom left-hand screen. And this just has your slogan, Success Starts Your School Breakfast. There's a Spanish version of it. And as I go through the document, you'll see some various different pictures. Some of them are already in the flyers in the toolkit. If you determine that a picture in this library here is better for you and the community you serve, these are available to you and they are in your campaign toolkit. And the other thing that's also included in your campaign toolkit is some additional information. One thing that you might find very helpful is we have our school breakfast brochure for families. This is something that you can provide a school or someone to provide families. It just gives a little bit more detail about school breakfast. Another thing that's very helpful is our 2018 school breakfast report that takes all the information that Jessica had shared with you and presents it in a little bit more detail, just if you wanted to be able to get a better understanding about what the school breakfast need is. I share this all with you knowing that you know your communities best, and we always want to hear feedback on what you think, how the pieces work for you, ways that worked well, ways that did not work well. Please feel free to share that information with your contract manager or myself directly, as you are the unique voice of the community you serve, and we want to be sure that we are hearing what your thoughts are on these materials. And with that, I am going to hand it back over to Patty, who's going to go into a little bit more detail about some of the things I shared with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. What do we mean when we say you need to complete 2 activities per campaign? You must choose two different documents, for example. Hang on one second. Diana is just looking for the slide. There we go. Next one. So as we see on the screen right now, there are 2 flyers. But these are considered 2 different documents. The first flyer can be used for your first activity, and the second flyer can be used for your second activity, for the fact that they have different pictures and different wording. One is actually a blended flyer. It talks about both SNAP and child nutrition, and the other one is strictly towards child nutrition. So you could actually use the first one for your first activity and the second one for your second activity. This is part of an outreach request, which shows you all the different activities that you can choose from. Keep in mind that only one activity can be submitted per outreach approval request. Leanne spoke a little bit about op-ed and the toolkit. So if you look at number 14, which says letter to the editor, eventually down in the future, it's going to say letter to the editor / op-ed. So if you choose to do the op-ed activity, you want to make sure that you check off number 14. What does it mean when we say your activity needs to be placed by? Here are some examples of activity placement. The first day that you hang a flyer in your local library, that means you placed it. It was the first day that you put that outreach flyer out into the community. Your outreach activities will continue throughout the 6 weeks of the campaign. This is a child nutrition campaign, which means if there is a cost attached to your activity, such as a printing cost or a cost to run a newspaper ad, the funds must be allotted from your child nutrition funds, which are state dollars. If you choose a blended ad, which we showed in the picture previously, or a flyer including both SNAP and child nutrition messages, then 50% can come from SNAP funds, which are federal and state matched funds, and 50% can come from your child nutrition funds. It is important on your outreach approval request that you place the cost in the correct section of the request. As you can see, this is also an outreach request. It's just a part of it. It's the top part of it. And as you could see, I chose to do a blended ad for this so I could show you breaking up the cost. The cost of the flyer for printing was $50 total. And because it's a blended ad, what I did was I broke it up and put $25 under SNAP, and then I also put $25 under child nutrition / SNAP. We encourage you to distribute your outreach, such as flyers, to as many locations throughout your service area as possible. Think about where low-income families might visit in your service area. And again, I can't stress this more than anything, just a friendly reminder, but so important. All outreach materials must be approved by your contract manager prior to placement. Now I will be handing the webinar back to Diana to wrap up the webinar and start the questions and answers part of the webinar. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to see what kind of questions we have. We have a question that says, for our new no-ups, shouldn't we stress that if a family is eligible for SNAP and applies, they are automatically eligible for school breakfast and lunch programs? Jess, would you like to take that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks so much for bringing that up. So families who are enrolled in SNAP are automatically eligible for free school meals. So what that means is that those families do not need to submit a school meal application. And if they are asked, they only have to submit their case number. But all those families are definitely entitled to free school meals, especially free breakfast.
Okay, our next question is, will we be receiving tote bags this year for some of the campaigns?
Yes, we will be receiving tote bags. They should actually be coming by mail the end of September, early October. And that would be for campaigns 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Our next question is, are any of these flyers in any other language besides English?
Yes, the flyers are going to be available to you prior to campaign implementation in Spanish as well. If you are a no-up that needs to have the flyer in a language other than Spanish, the no-up is the contract manager. Contact your contract manager, let them know about this, and they will work with you on getting that information in the language that you need.
And our next question is, what happens if I submit an op-ed, but the newspaper doesn't publish it?
That is a very good question. Patty, if they do that, does that still count as an activity? No, if the newspaper does not publish it, then you would have to choose an additional activity. So you'd have to complete a new outreach request. Definitely let your contract manager know that that's one of the activities that you chose. So you will have to choose another activity, and you'd have to submit a brand new outreach request with the new activity that you chose to do.
And I do see one more question. I would encourage you, the person who has a question on data collection, to please contact your contract manager. We are talking about school breakfast today. It's a very important question you've asked, but I think that's something that's most appropriate for you to directly contact your contract manager. Also, we want you to know that before we close today, we're going to send out a link to the slides and the recording, and the slides and the recording link will also be made available in the campaign toolkit. We're also going to be sending you at some point a one-page sheet that gives you some directions on accessing the no-up only section of no-up section only of the webinar that we call the No-Up Network. I know that you do get some instruction on that, but we will be sending that to you as well. And we thank everybody for coming today. We appreciate your attendance at this presentation, and we hope that you really enjoy your school breakfast campaign. Success starts with school breakfast, a very exciting campaign, first campaign of the year. So good luck, everyone, with that, and thank you for joining us.